For lots of production cars, as horsepower increases, so does the size of the wheels. But if we look at an F1 car, it doesn't fit that trend. They make close to 1,000 horsepower but use 13-inch wheels. For Formula One, they're not the only one using tiny wheels. Oh no, NASCAR, IndyCar, they both use relatively small wheels at just 15 inches. But when it comes to wheels, bigger isn't always better. So why in 2022 is F1 ditching their small boys for some dubs? Well, today we're gonna look at why the most high performance race cars in the world have itty bitty wheels and why Formula One are making their cars slower by sizing those wheels up. Let's go. A big thank you to our friends at Shell's Pennzoil for sponsoring today's video. Did you know that Pennzoil is the first motor oil made from natural gas, not crude? Look at this, the base oil is actually crystal clear, and it's the addition of unique high performance additives which gives Pennzoil its distinctive amber color. Shell spent over 40 years developing this first of its kind motor oil. Just think about that. They've been working on this oil before most of us were even born. And the proof of their hard work is in the Pennzoil. Now, I personally own a handful of cars, or as my girlfriend says, way too many. She just doesn't get it. But when I'm driving one of my babies on the track or just cruising around the streets, I want the best overall protection, which is why I use Pennzoil Platinum. If you're looking to increase your mileage, reduce engine wear, and unleash those buff horsepowers under the hood, editor, please cut to my buff catfish. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Do yourself a favor and pick up a bottle of Pennzoil Platinum the next time you need motor oil. To learn more about Shell's Pennzoil Platinum motor oil made from natural gas, click the link in the description below. And now, let's get back to some B2B. You know it's a good day at B2B when we got beakers in the mix. Hello, we're sciencey around here. Ooh. As we've established, a big change coming to Formula One in 2022 are the larger wheels. No big deal, right? Wrong! James Allison, the technical director of the Mercedes F1 team, says those larger wheels will make the cars 2 seconds slower per lap. That's roughly what you expect from a car that lost 125 horsepower. That's huge. He then said that if you like those bigger wheels, it's because you're a 13-year-old boy or a fan of Fast and Furious films. Yes, I am both of those. Then he called your mama a bitch. That guy. The FIA, who respects your mother for being a strong, independent woman, says larger wheels are gonna lead to better racing. So, who should we believe, Allison or the FIA? Car enthusiasts tend to associate larger wheels with increased performance. Is that because we're all 13-year-old fanboys or fans of the Fast and Furious franchise? Well, no. There really is a correlation between a car's performance and wheel size. Partially, that's because in a road car or a race car, weight is the enemy of speed. Put your car on a diet and performance increases. Add mass and performance decreases. Even a 1-inch increase in wheel size can add a significant amount of mass to a car. On average, 17-inch wheels, they weigh about 9.4 kilograms. It's 20.7 pounds. 18-inch wheels, they weigh about 10.7 kilograms. That's 1.3 kgs more weight per wheel, or about as much as an adult prairie dog. Now you put 4 of those on a car and that's an increase in total mass of 5.2 kilograms or an Allen swamp monkey. Now based on power to weight ratio, that additional mass in a Formula One car is equivalent to losing 5.7 horsepower. F1 is a tight competition and losing 5 horsepower is the difference between winning a race and losing a race. But F1 wheels aren't increasing by 1 inch, they're increasing by 5 inches from 13 inches to 18 inches. F1 wheel weights are a closely guarded secret, so we can only estimate what difference that size change will make to the total weight of the cars. I was able to find the weight of one 13-inch F1 wheel from the 2001 season, and sure enough, it was just 4 kilograms. An 18-inch wheel made from the same material using the same construction would weigh nearly twice that, 7.9 kilograms, for a total increase in the car's mass of 15.7 kgs. That change in power to weight ratio is equivalent to losing 17 horsepower. But 17 horsepower shouldn't produce a 2-second per lap deficit like Allison suggests. There's rumored to be a formula for calculating how horsepower loss will affect lap time. Every horsepower lost increases lap time by roughly 0.016 seconds. If that formula is correct, 17 horsepower should only add about a quarter of a second per lap, not a full 2 seconds. The reason for Allison's pessimism is because wheels and tires aren't just linear mass, they're rotational mass. Usually when we talk about weight or mass, we're talking about linear mass. That's just a measure of how difficult it is to set an object in motion or bring it to a stop in a straight line. Greater mass requires more force to get moving. For a car, adding linear mass is the equivalent to taking away horsepower because it alters the power to weight ratio. If you want to learn more about power to weight ratios, why don't you go and click this video right here. Now, rotational mass, on the other hand, is how difficult it is to get an object like a wheel to rotate. Rotational mass is different because it just doesn't depend on the weight of the object, but where that weight is positioned relative to its center or axis of rotation. The further from that axis the weight is positioned, the harder it is to make that object increase or decrease its rate of rotation. A car's engine has to make all the parts attached to the driveline rotate. That includes things like the flywheel and the clutch, the gears in the gearbox, the drive shaft, the axles, the brake disc, and the wheels. All that rotating mass is one reason why crank horsepower and wheel horsepower differ. That difference is the car's drivetrain power loss, and the heavier all those items are, the more power is lost, making them spin up to speed, which means less power available to accelerate the mass of the rest of the car forward. Increasing or decreasing the weight of something like a drive shaft will have minimal effect on drivetrain loss because most of the mass of the drive shaft is close to the axis of rotation. But wheels are different. Most of their mass is in the rim, as far as possible from the axis of rotation. Increasing wheel size adds extra weight, almost all of which is further away from the center of the wheel, creating an even greater increase in the rotational mass. The more rotational mass you have, the more power you need to overcome that mass, and the less power you get to apply to forward movement of your race car. So, is larger wheels increased linear and rotational mass enough for a 2-second deficit in Formula One? Not quite. There's actually one more problem that Allison has in mind, and that's because new wheels means new tires. You know what they say about a race car with big wheels, right? Freaking big tires. And the new F1 tires are bigger just in ways that will slow the cars. They're also smaller in other ways that will also slow the cars. Let me explain. Current F1 tires have a diameter of 670 millimeters and a 13-inch wheel. That means the tire sidewall is about 170 millimeters. That's a whole lot of sidewall, but that just means more cushion for the push-in because that tall sidewall is part of the car's suspension. It absorbs impacts and vibrations from the road surface to help control the movement and the balance of the car's weight and to maintain its grip. That absorption mostly happens through deformation of the sidewall, and the taller the sidewall is, the more it can deform. Because the tires are the first point of contact with the road surface, any shocks or vibrations they absorb don't have to be managed by the rest of the suspension. If the tires, they can do a lot of that work, the springs and dampers can be made lighter, simpler, cheaper, and more compact. Tires are such an integral part of F1 suspension that teams invented the J-damper to stabilize tire oscillations for even better tire suspension performance. We made the most difficult to understand B2B ever on the J-damper. If you really want to nerd out, click right here. But before you go click that like and subscribe button. That really helps us out. Thank you. The new Formula One tires for 2022 are bigger than the current ones. The sizes haven't been finalized yet, but they will be wider and they will have a total diameter of 725 millimeters versus the current, which is 670 millimeters. And just like having larger wheels, larger tires means an increase in tire weight, and it moves that weight further from the center of the wheel, increasing rotational mass as well. That slows the car down for all the same reasons that bigger wheels slow the car down. But because of those bigger wheels, the new tires have a smaller sidewall, just 135 millimeters. That means the cars will need new suspension with larger springs and dampers because they now have to manage more of the shocks and vibrations the cars encounter. The larger shocks and suspension components needed to make up for that loss accounts for yet another weight increase that's going to slow the cars down. So the reason why Formula One, NASCAR, and IndyCar all use relatively small wheels is because they're light, they're easy to get spinning, and they can fit tires with large sidewalls, which are an important part of the suspension. Like it or not, this dude Allison is right. Changing to larger wheels is going to slow the cars down. That makes the change a bit of a mystery, and Formula One is once again not alone. NASCAR, they're switching to 18-inch wheels in 2022, and IndyCar is expected to change in 2023. Each series claims that one reason to go big is so the wheels will be more like those found on performance road cars. So if they know the cars are going to be slower, and if we can throw away their reasoning for using wheels that much more resemble production cars, why make the switch? The old, taller tire sidewalls that do so much suspension work actually creates some problems. Squishy tires, they're imprecise, and the teams can't adjust that part of the suspension for the specific track or the conditions the way they can tune springs and dampers. A shorter sidewall means more variety in team choices about suspension setup. Another reason for the new wheels is major changes to aerodynamics coming for 2022. These are partially intended to increase safety by reducing speed. Decreasing the load created by downforce reduces stress on the tires, and this is supposed to prevent the sort of blowouts that have plagued the British Grand Prix, and also took out Lance Stroll and race leader Max Verstappen at Baku a couple weeks ago. Less aerodynamic load means less sidewall is necessary to support that load, and less sidewall means tires can be run at lower pressure, and they will flex less, both of which should reduce the incidence of blowouts. But the big reason for aerodynamic changes is to reduce dirty air. That's the low pressure area and turbulence behind an F1 car created by all its aerodynamic parts. That low pressure area is how F1 cars slipstream or get a tow on straight sections. The following car has 40 to 50% less downforce than what the front car has, which reduces drag, increasing their speed. Now, while that's great in a straight line, dirty air and that lack of downforce creates a problem in corners where less downforce means less grip, and less grip means lower speeds. Dirty air makes it incredibly difficult to pass because the follower can't keep up with the car in front through a corner. Aerodynamic changes are being introduced to smooth the surface of the cars to clean up that air. And it turns out a lot of dirty air is created by the wheels and tires. What? F1 tires with tall sidewalls deflect during racing. They literally change shape and oscillate. That ever-changing shape creates turbulence as the tire passes through the air. A lower profile tire deflects less, creating less turbulence. To help further reduce all of that dirty air, in 2022 there will be winglets that sit above the tires called cleaning blades that slow the turbulent air coming off the tires and reduce the low pressure area behind them, like a spoiler on the trunk of your car. That's exactly why every dude who has a Civic hatchback has a spoiler. They're just trying to clean up all their dirty air, man. Next time you see a Civic with a friggin' big spoiler, just give them a high five. Like, thanks for cleaning up the dirty air. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. Scream it loudly and aggressively. As loud and aggressive as you can. Hey, sweet spoiler, dude! Then they'll love you. The spinning wheels also create turbulence because of their irregular surface shape. So to prevent this, F1 will be introducing smooth covers that seal the outside surface of the wheels. The ones that they were seeing and testing all the way back in 2019, they looked a little goofy. They painted to look like fake wheels. Those are what they are. But supposedly, these will have integrated LEDs to display information to fans, like tire wear or pressure, or if we're lucky, a GIF of my face doing this. Changing wheel size might seem like a minor thing, but it has so many knockdown effects that we don't have enough time to talk about them in one single episode. We're gonna need more episodes. It increases unsprung mass. That's the part of the car that's not supported by the suspension. And this has significant impacts on handling. Bigger wheels means the interior volume of the tires is smaller, which changes the pressure they'll be running. And that changes the way they heat up and cool down. That change in the thermal properties of the tires means Pirelli, they gotta come up with new rubber compounds that work under those conditions. And they won't be able to relax after that because their exclusive F1 contract is up for 2023. So things could get all crazy after then. And there's yet another major rule change coming in 2024. No more tire warmers. That means Pirelli or whoever is making the tires has to produce a race tire compound that sticks from 10 degrees C all the way up to 150 degrees C, and that's never been done before. As if that wasn't enough, new engines are coming for 2025. F1, they never freaking stop. And neither do we, baby. So we are going to be doing a lot of B2Bs on all those F1 changes. If there's something that you want to see, leave a comment down below. We'll try to see if we can do an episode on it. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of B2B. Follow us here on Instagram at Donut Media. Follow me on Instagram at Jeremiah Burton. Until next week, bye for now.